Do hy2% succeed and 98 do not. They say success is rare, that fortune smiles only on the chosen few. And when we hear that, most people shrug, accepting it as fate. But the truth is not fate. The truth is choice. History shows us the same pattern. 2% rise, 98 remain where they are. 2% build empires, 98 sell their time to them. 2% bend reality, 98 let reality bend them. And the difference is not luck, nor inheritance, nor circumstance. The difference lies in the invisible realm of the mind. Think of Thomas Edison, who failed over 1,000 times before he found the filament that lit the world. Do you think Edison belonged to the 98? No. Edison belonged to the 2% because he refused to interpret failure as final. He saw failure as data. He understood that the mind that perseveres cannot be defeated. And while the 98 complained of darkness, he created light. The same pattern repeats across centuries. Henry Ford, a farm boy with no wealth, no title, no education of prestige, dared to hold a vision so outrageous that men laughed in his face. He was told the automobile was impossible, impractical, unnecessary. Yet Ford became the man who didn't just build a car, but built a system, and in building that system, he reshaped the world. What was the difference? Mindset. Vision. Unyielding belief in a future others could not yet see. That is the creed of the 2%. And this, my friend, is the first truth. Success begins with thought. Not idle thought, not daydreams that fade when the alarm clock rings, but thought so strong it burns like fire in the mind. Napoleon Hill once wrote that every great achievement begins with an idea, and behind every idea stands desire. Without desire, thought has no fuel. Without vision, desire has no direction. The 98 lack this union of clarity and hunger. They wait for someone to hand them purpose. The 2% create their own. The 98 spend their days comparing themselves to others, drowning in distractions, scrolling endlessly while time slips through their fingers. They trade their attention for entertainment, and in doing so, they sell their future. The 2%, however, protect their attention like treasure. They rise early when the world is silent, and they aim their thoughts toward creation. They know that the morning is the battlefield on which the day is won or lost. They understand that the mind, like a wild horse, must be harnessed, trained, and directed, or else it will run aimlessly into the wilderness of wasted years. Discipline is the gatekeeper. Discipline separates the 98 who say someday from the 2% who say today. Consider Andrew Carnegie, who arrived in America a poor immigrant, working in factories for pennies. He could have settled into the 98, resigned to toil and anonymity. But Carnegie understood discipline. He read voraciously, studied relentlessly, sacrificed comfort for growth, and eventually, he not only became the richest man of his time, he became a philanthropist who built libraries so that others could access the very discipline of learning that transformed his own life. But hear me clearly, success is not only about money. Money is a shadow of value, a reflection of what one has given to the world. The 2% are not driven by money alone, they are driven by purpose. Look at Walt Disney. Bankrupt, betrayed, dismissed as a dreamer, yet he carried within him a vision so alive that it refused to die. He saw castles where others saw swamps, magic where others saw risk. The 98 laughed, but the laughter of the 98 has never built a kingdom. Disney pressed forward, and today generations walk inside his imagination. The 2% succeed because they live in alignment with a higher purpose. They anchor themselves to something larger than comfort, larger than applause, larger than the fear of failure. They choose meaning over mediocrity, and because of that choice, resilience becomes their armor. When storms come, and they always do, the 98 retreat. But the 2%, they lean into the storm. They understand that adversity is not a wall but a doorway. They know that resilience is built like muscle, through strain, through resistance, through pain. Abraham Lincoln lost election after election, buried his children, faced ridicule and defeat so many times that most men would have surrendered to despair. Yet he rose again and again until he became the president who preserved a nation. Was it genius? Was it privilege? No. It was resilience forged in suffering, guided by unwavering purpose. That is the heart of the 2%. And so the question stands before you like a mirror: will you remain among the 98 who surrender to distraction, to doubt, to delay? Or will you claim your place among the 2% who shape their destiny with thought, discipline, vision, and purpose? The answer is not given, it is chosen. It is chosen daily, hourly, in each small decision. Because success is not one leap, it is 1,000 steps, and each step is a choice. But let us dig deeper, because it is not enough to speak of vision and discipline without exposing the hidden chains that keep 98% bound. Most people believe the enemy is outside: competition, economy, circumstance, bad luck. But the enemy is within: fear, doubt, procrastination. These are the silent assassins of dreams. They whisper, "You are not ready. You are not worthy. You are not capable." And those who listen become prisoners in a cage they themselves have built. Yet the 2% hear those same whispers and refuse to obey. They understand that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. Look at Helen Keller, born blind and deaf, locked in silence and darkness. By every measure, life had already sentenced her to the 98. But with fierce determination, she mastered language, became an author, an activist, a voice for millions who had no voice. If she could transform impossible barriers into bridges, what excuse remains for us? The 98 ask, "What if I fail?" The 2% ask, "What if I succeed?" That single shift in questioning creates a universe of difference. One sees risk as threat, the other sees it as opportunity. One lives avoiding loss, the other lives pursuing growth. One clings to comfort, the other craves expansion. And what of clarity? Do not overlook its power. A mind without clarity is a ship without a compass. The 98 drift, carried by the tides of opinion, swayed by trends, pulled by the winds of other people's desires. The 2%, however, sharpen their clarity like a blade. They write down their goals, speak them aloud, visualize them until they burn into the subconscious. This clarity gives them direction, and direction gives them momentum. Without clarity, effort is scattered. With clarity, effort becomes a laser. Consider the Wright brothers. They had no degrees, no wealthy backers, no established reputation. All they had was clarity of purpose to conquer the skies. While giants like the Smithsonian wasted fortunes with no success, these two bicycle mechanics, working in a dusty shed, achieved flight. Why? Because they knew what they wanted and would not release it from their vision until reality bent to match it. Now let us turn to gratitude, for gratitude is the unseen force that sustains the 2% when the journey grows long. The 98 complain about what they lack, speaking words of scarcity that multiply scarcity. The 2% give thanks for every step, every lesson, every challenge, because they understand that gratitude transforms obstacles into opportunities. It is gratitude that keeps the mind fertile, open to ideas, ready to attract the right people, the right timing, the right circumstances. Even in the darkest valleys, gratitude becomes a lantern. And then adaptability. The world changes: technology, markets, politics, culture. The 98 resist change, clinging desperately to the familiar, even when it is sinking. The 2% anticipate change, embrace it, use it as wind in their sails. Think of Steve Jobs, cast out of the very company he founded. Many would have been broken, but Jobs adapted. He learned, reinvented, created Pixar, returned to Apple, and built a legacy that altered the course of technology and design forever. The 98 see change as loss. The 2% see it as evolution. But none of this matters without action. This is the ultimate separator. The 98 think, wish, talk, and dream, but they rarely move. They are perpetual planners, forever waiting for the right time, which never comes. The 2% understand that action is the great equalizer. Bold, imperfect, relentless action. They do not wait for permission. They do not wait for certainty. They move, and in moving, they learn, adapt, and grow. Success is never a result of waiting. It is always a result of doing. History honors the doers. Alexander Graham Bell did not wait for the perfect blueprint. He built the telephone with his own hands, refining as he went. Oprah Winfrey did not wait until she had the perfect network. She built it brick by brick through consistent action. Elon Musk did not wait until rockets were affordable. He launched them, failed spectacularly, and launched again until the world could no longer ignore him. Action births momentum, and momentum births results. And so the line is drawn. 98% will surrender their power, handing over their time and their destiny to hesitation, distraction, and fear. But the 2%, those rare few, will seize their thoughts, master their habits, anchor themselves to vision, fuel themselves with discipline, armor themselves with resilience, and move with relentless action. Do you see now why only 2% succeed? It is not mystery. It is not accident. It is not fate. It is the compounding effect of choices made daily. The choice to believe when others doubt. The choice to rise when others sleep. The choice to persist when others quit. The choice to act when others hesitate. The choice to focus when others scatter. And this truth stands like a challenge before you. No one is born into the 2%. It is not bloodline. It is not inheritance. It is earned. It is chosen. And the choice is yours. Every day you wake up, you are standing at the crossroads, 98 on one side, 2 on the other. 98 will give you comfort, distraction, safety, and regret. 2 will demand sacrifice, vision, courage, and discipline, but will reward you with freedom, fulfillment, and a legacy that echoes long after your voice is gone. So decide. Decide now, for indecision itself is the language of the 98. If you wait until tomorrow, you have already chosen the 98. If you hesitate, if you delay, the tide will carry you back into the masses. But if you rise now, if you declare with conviction that you will no longer live by default, but by design, then you step into the ranks of the few who succeed. You are capable. You are worthy. You are called. But none of that matters unless you act. The torch is in your hand. Will you carry it into the dark, or let it die in your grasp? Remember, 98% will not. The world does not need more hesitation. The world does not need more fear. The world needs you, fully awake, fully alive, fully committed to the vision that burns in your soul. Be the 2%.